Oh, are we on TV? Oh, okay.
Oh, wow, they don't always do work
Didn't know that.
sessions.
You see the back of Suzanne, but
No,
generally you see the back of Suzanne.
He can get her.
Anyway.
He's got that one.
Oh, okay.
I have a request, if
Uh-huh.
we could change the order of the agenda to take care of the minutes and, I don't know if you call it new business or unfinished business, but the meeting schedule for the year.
Okay. We didn't do that already, the meeting schedule?
Well, I don't know if we did, if we did or not, but I talked to Sarah this afternoon, and she hadn't, I guess, seen it. I hadn't seen it.
It's online, that's why I wondered.
I guess it came out.
It was voted on at the joint meeting.
It
I'm
came
sorry,
out-
what?
It was voted on at the joint meeting.
That's what I thought.
It
We had it
was?
in September. I know we looked at,
Well, the reason I bring it up is because as only one person, I'd like us to have 2 meetings a month, one dedicated to the bylaws. And if we have no applications, we use it for bylaws. We're never going to get done this. We've been working on this for over a year, close to 2 years, and we haven't made any progress. So although it's a pain in the neck to come out twice a month, it would be beneficial to do this and then follow this schedule here and work in a second meeting every month and start at 6. Go to 6 to 8, 2 hours, twice a month, try to get it done off our list.
Would you say we should start that in April or before,
I would start right this month in January and have a second meeting
in
sometime.
February?
Whatever works for, I'm pretty flexible, so I'm not asking on my behalf, but whatever works for the group as a second meeting is, I'll make sure I come.
I'd be okay with that. Monday nights are difficult because I do a publication for first thing Tuesday
Yeah.
morning, so.
Doesn't have to be a Monday, it could be a Wednesday or Friday.
Not Friday, but maybe Thursday? How's everybody else on Thursdays?
okay, I have I'm chairman of the Ag Commission. That's the first Thursday of the month. If we could avoid that,
Yeah.
that would be,
That would make sense
Helpful.
because we would be meeting the first Tuesday, so we'd want to push it at least to the
First
third
Monday, you
week.
mean.
The third week of the month.
You want a calendar? Or do you? Anybody want to share a calendar?
We have our phones.
Not me.
So,
I do, but I don't know how to use it.
So that would be, in January, that would be the 26th. If you wanted to do another one, that's actually the fourth Thursday. The 19th would be the third Thursday, which,
I have a
It's only
two-day
next week at
class
the-
I have to
this-
teach on the 20th and 21st. That later one would actually be
Okay.
better for me if it doesn't matter to anyone else.
can you do it what, the later Thursday?
Yes, the
Okay.
26th is fine.
Okay.
Wait.
At 6?
Excuse me?
At 6? At
Yes, yes,
26? Okay.
yes.
So January 26th.
At 6 PM.
Okay.
So this would be a work session.
Yeah. And then February would be the 23rd would be the last Thursday.
Can we do the 16th?
Well, we could, it's just 1 week after the 6th.
Yeah, but I got another class to teach on
Okay,
the 24th.
16th.
Do we have a meeting the 6th? We don't know yet.
I don't know.
We don't know yet.
Yes, you'll have a
You
meeting.
think something's coming up? All right.
I mean, I don't care if it's the week after, I just thought it was.
Me either, I don't care.
All right, so February 16th,
Would that be 6 o'clock as well?
right. 6 to 8, if I
Right.
were.
Any chance of doing one the 23rd?
I would rather not do 3.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
I couldn't come the
okay.
23rd. I have
Okay,
a-
Can't
okay.
either.
So March, we're on the 6th, and so, again, well, there's 5 Thursdays, but the fourth one is the 23rd.
March 23rd.
Anybody have a problem with that schedule?
Deliberative and voting is all over.
Yep.
Right.
At 6?
And
Ooh, that begs a question. March voting, isn't that the 7th? Are we meeting on the 6th? Because usually the night before voting, this is all taken up with,
Oh, yeah. We can't
we
be
talked
here.
about this and went through it, and I couldn't remember either. When I looked at the schedule, I thought I
When,
was asking the
when
same.
everyone voted on the schedule, there was a misunderstanding apparently from the clerk as to what days were involved. So I think it's going to be 3/14 is
Is the
voting
actual
day.
date?
Yeah, 2/7 is
Okay.
deliberative.
I thought it
That's
was the
right.
first Tuesday.
What did we
of
end
the
up doing?
The voting is the second Tuesday, so voting is the 14th.
Isn't it the first Tuesday after the first Monday, which would make it the 7th?
Well, we went through this, and apparently, no, it's the 14th for some reason that I don't know.
I don't think that's right.
I think it is supposed to be.
Well, Linda was here that night, and she verified that.
I'd ask Pat Waterman. I wouldn't trust anybody but Pat.
See if it's on the website.
It's not.
It's not? Oh.
Well, deliberative is on the 7th, but it doesn't say town meeting night in March.
Yeah, 7th of February.
Okay. So deliberative's on the 7th, and that's going to be at the high school, or?
No.
Here.
It is here?
Here.
Oh, okay.
It's been here a couple years.
So April?
Because of COVID, probably.
What was the date in March?
What happened in March?
What did we do for March?
3/23?
Okay.
April, the regular date is the 3rd, so we could do the 20th.
Shouldn't we have it
Well-
done by then?
That's a-
We
Yeah.
may have a change of the guard here, so do you think it's appropriate to schedule
Let's wait.
for people that may not even,
Yeah, but that's true of March also.
no?
Correct.
And the other thing is we have those dates, but then someone needs to check it and make certain that this hasn't been rented out to some entity.
So far, you're okay.
Okay. Sometimes
Well,
there's special events.
On the 3/23, oh, I guess we can't really have that meeting because any new members would need to be sat by that date because it's the first date after the election. So we can't really meet on that date.
So
we'd have-
January and February is a good start.
We have two spaces opening up, and we have volunteers. We have
Hello.
alternates. Sorry, I'm late.
Well, whatever happens, they will have to be, the anointed, appointed, or sworn in the next time we meet, and we don't want to set up another date for that. It has to be,
They should be sworn in by the 23rd. If they aren't, then they're delinquent. Because,
right.
you
If
know,
they're
that's
swearing
plenty of
in-
time after the vote to get sworn in. That's 2 weeks.
They get sworn in, and then Amy has to send the things over to Pat, and then Pat has to send a letter.
That's just a paper shuffle.
Yeah.
You know, I would think they'd be happy to get the vote and
But
go
we're
get
supposed
sworn in.
to vote on chairs and stuff at the next meeting, and if we set the next meeting right after that, that would be the meeting that we were supposed to do that.
Yeah, but our next regular meeting isn't until April 3rd. A
Yeah,
work
but
session
is
isn't
it our
set.
regular meeting that we can wait for, or do we have to do it at the next meeting, which that would be the one we're
I
scheduling?
think you could determine now if you were going to say, look, there are 2 seats open, we don't know what's going to happen, so let's just say we're going to do chair, vice chair, and clerk on the April meeting.
We typically don't have a work meeting in March, so that's a different time, a different date than we've ever had before. So when your question was, do we do it the first meeting after the vote, I think is irrelevant. It just means you don't do it 10 meetings after March. You know, it's like, as soon as possible after the vote. But I wouldn't let that, I would put the 23rd down, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah, if we see that there's some rule problem with it, we can just
Yeah, I
skip
don't
it.
believe that there is. We're talking about having work meetings.
Okay.
And then we're going to wait and weigh in on whoever's seated
April.
in April for the
Yeah.
rest of the year. Okay.
Yeah.
People
I think so.
appointed by the Board of Selectmen, by the time they get around to appointing them, it's almost the end of April, the beginning of
They
May.
don't get
before they're all appointed, and then the minutes have to go to Pat and to Amy, and then Amy has to send it to
But
her.
that's
So
only alternates.
no, for committees and all that, so.
Yeah, but
it's-
it has
it's-
no effect on us. We're
No, let me
voted.
just finish what I'm explaining. So it's not a hard and fast rule, it's sort of as soon as reasonably appropriate after someone is appointed, they get their letter, people are sworn in and whatever, so. I
Well,
don't-
when they're voted in, they take their position
Right.
at the next meeting after the vote. So this 23rd, those new people will be seated at our meeting, at a work session, rather than a regular session.
They can attend and just not be voting members at the time.
If they get voted in, they are voting members.
It's just a
Whatever.
matter of who's chair and vice chair, and
Yeah,
that's,
it-
right.
They'll be
That
voting
can-
members, we won't necessarily be doing the chair, vice chair thing.
I don't think anybody's going to fall down on the ground and die if they aren't voted
So-
in technically till the beginning of the next regular meeting and not at the work session.
What do you mean?
They talk about regular meetings, and a work session isn't a regular meeting. There's no hearings, there's no voting for decisions.
But new people will be seated in their seats, correct? Do you agree
Right.
with that?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. It's not a
We
bad
can't
thing to
even
have them at a work
Yeah, but
session
we can't even
first.
guarantee that they will have been sworn in yet.
Well, I think Suzanne's correct. They only have a certain amount of time to sign in, and if they're not done by the 23rd, they're late.
You have so many days to
Like
get
10.
sworn in, and if
Yeah.
you don't, you're delinquent.
You'd be surprised how the list
Well-
that Pat Waterman sends out of people that have not been sworn in.
Well, then they have no
You'd be astonished,
business.
2 or 3 dozen people from committees every
She
year.
sends,
There's
she
a state
sends.
law
yeah.
that says
Yeah.
you must be sworn in within a certain time frame. There's a state law that says a recount can happen within so many days. So you can't get sworn in while the recount is questioned or
Right.
challenged, and you have to get sworn in
Right.
before your time frame is up. Otherwise, you default, you're not in, you're out,
And we get
somebody
a
else.
copy of the paper that she uses to swear them in with a date on it.
All right. I gave Sabette the dates. that-
Thank you. So everybody's good with that? Do we need to vote, actually, on
No.
these?
Well, that was going to be a question, I mean, that was one question. Since 2 regular members aren't here, are you going to seat 2 of the 3
Oh,
alternates?
yes, I am.
And, well, but only most important, if you're going to have a motion to set those 3 dates.
I think we might be voting on other things, so I think I do
don't
need
see-
to.
I think it's a consensus. I don't think we have to be formal to do a vote, but there's one other part to this, that we, for work sessions, let's get this straight, they're all public meetings. There's a difference between a public hearing and a public meeting. This is a public meeting, not a public hearing. The public's welcome to come, but nobody ever does. The point being, I would like to meet in the annex room downstairs where the Heritage Commission meets. It's a smaller room. It's much more conducive to
And you can
a
hear.
work session.
I like that.
I like that too.
It was wonderful to expose these beams, but it just destroyed the ability to hear anybody.
I don't have any way to check these 3 dates for the annex conference room.
I talked to Terry, and I asked her how
I mean, can you
heavily
check,
used that is in the evening.
And
Can you check
it's
tomorrow?
not. It's not heavily used, but I can check
Oh,
and then
okay.
confirm. And then the other concern is if for some reason 25 people show up, we're going to have to find, I don't think they are. But if more people show up than the room can hold, we're going to have to default to up here.
If 4 or 5 people show up, we open up the doors and we meet in the hallway.
yeah, if only a handful show up, I agree with that.
Okay, thank you very much for your indulgence on that. Hope to see you all there. The other thing I would have liked to move to the top is the minutes. If we wait till the end, I think we're going to be spending quite a little discussion on these bylaws. I'd like to get the minutes out of the way. They're well overdue.
So the people who was here at during the first set of minutes that you want to vote
We
on.
have October 3rd.
Yeah.
That's the first one. And
Well,
then
who was here?
Kate,
I was here.
Chuck was here.
But were they,
We have Audrey, Suzanne, and Sarah.
Nancy's the only one that wasn't here.
Kate was here, right. Chuck was here.
Sabette was the only one
Okay.
excused and absent.
all right.
And she can vote to abstain, and it's still a vote. So we have enough people.
1, 2,
I don't think
3,
you
4, 5.
participated, so,
That was October 3rd?
Yeah.
I think I was here.
No, it says you were excused.
We have 5 members, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
No,
And you
that's
need to
true.
appoint Chuck in the place of Tim.
Chuck, will you sit in the place of Tim for any
I will.
votes tonight?
Literally and figuratively.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I haven't
Who is Kate sitting for?
done
That's
that.
in place of Luke.
I didn't say that.
Well, she could be in place, can an alternate be in place of, yeah, he's elected. Of
course.
He's elected, yeah.
Yes, there is no selectman
Place
rep.
of
on
Luke.
it.
Either
Will you be in
her-
place of Luke? Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Tim. Okay, so minutes.
Minutes. Did you have some suggestions?
No, I think these are the ones that I think are impossible to fix, or like
This-
one of the ones.
This was on the solar fields.
No, October 3rd
No.
was the
Oh, no, this was the
cell tower.
tower.
Okay, I did read the tower one, and I don't have any change.
Oh, well, I have a whole bunch.
I know.
I have a couple.
Did I bring it?
You said when you came in, you brought copies, didn't you?
Oh, shoot.
Or maybe that's what I thought.
This is the solar fields, right? No, Romney? Wait a minute, where am I?
Romney was
October.
last month.
Yeah.
Cell
Oh,
tower.
yeah, okay, I'm sorry, that was the tower. And we excruciatingly went through each waiver, each special exception, and each variance. And we had reasons why. Little specific bullet points as to why yes, we did, or why no, we wouldn't. And the minutes don't reflect anything other than, it says, it would say something like, the board reviewed the application and agrees with the statements within the application, or they agree with the statements of the applicant.
We're talking October, right?
I'm talking October 3rd, the
Okay.
tower.
Now, on the waivers, though, we actually went through those really quickly.
Oh, I was here, sorry, I was here for that.
You weren't a voting member.
But I weren't a voting, I wasn't, and I had to sit in the audience. I've been sitting
that's
here
right.
mulling over, why wasn't I?
That's
But I
right.
was here, I
Yeah.
heard the whole thing. I just couldn't
You were a
vote.
citizen
I
that
was a
night.
citizen.
Yeah, so we did verbalize each one, there were 7, each, here, by the way.
The waivers, yeah, I read that, but I
Uh,
don't,
On page
Yeah,
5,
it's all typed out.
thank you.
Oh, I gave away mine.
I,
So we verbalized each one of the criteria, and to have minutes that don't reflect reasoning why, either yes or no, or for or against, is, number one, a lack of history when some other board faces such a application. It's nice to have some continuity when you have another application similar to this application, although every application is different. And I think there needs to be some reference. And so I typed up the waivers, I typed up the special exception.
you went back and listened to the
I
meeting?
listened to the tape, I did the best I could. And I agree, it was difficult, convoluted, and messy, and hard for anyone to keep straight what was done, but I would like this attached as an amendment to the October 3rd minutes.
How does that work?
An amendment to the minutes, you just attach it.
You just, well, would we have to vote on,
Yes,
okay,
You just vote to amend the minutes to include,
okay.
just
So-
like you vote to accept the minutes with corrections. This would be a correction on amendment.
and so the minutes tonight would
Gotcha.
say, so
I
somebody,
see what you're saying.
somebody would know to cross-reference and,
So we should all read through this and make sure we agree with everything that you
Fine.
wrote, right?
Yeah, if you-
Or we would ask for an amendment to one of these things.
oh, if you want to, that's fine.
I don't
More
want to.
copies of that, or?
There's one
I already
in
read
front
mine.
of you. There's one in front of you.
Oh,
Thank you, Sarah.
I couldn't get it all the way over. It's all right, so I'd move that we table the minutes pending review of requests for amendments of the October 3rd minutes.
okay. Does anybody want a second that we,
I'll second that.
so we will be looking at these next time then, to vote whether to amend the minutes after?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you want to read them, I don't blame you.
Okay.
All right.
Can I put
yeah.
in a couple of changes for these?
To the ones we're looking
No,
at?
to the
minutes.
original minutes.
Okay, yep.
On page 5,
What one are we doing?
Tower, same one. Tower.
Yeah. what-
Page 5,
Yeah. They're not, pages aren't numbered.
I know, but we can just count them. I don't know why they don't put page numbers on them anymore, but it would sure be helpful. So the-
Because we each print them and they come off in different numbers of pages
Yeah.
because they're not PDFs.
I know, but it would at least give us a chance to find it. On this one, it's mine, it's page 5, it's the second paragraph down. It says, "S. Silk spoke to 1765, blah, blah, blah," on the first line. And on the second one, there's a typo. It says, "and utilizes," and it should be, "I questioned utilities." And then someplace in there, and I have to say at this point, I'm not exactly sure where it would be inserted, but I had a lengthy discussion with them about line of sight and whatnot with Mr. Cook, and I see that nowhere's in here.
All right, you want to take care of it at the next meeting when we do all the amendments?
Yeah, I guess I can, because I don't know exactly where to insert it at this point.
Line of sight, because I noticed there is a paragraph in there about Mr. Cook, and we were talking about what we were seeing from
Well,
other
it was also a
places.
discussion about the towers that we looked for
That-
putting the fire and police on it
Yeah.
the first time,
Ah.
which is already there, and some reference to that in regards to this one, and I just don't remember exactly where
You
it was.
wanted the line of, the sight line, you wanted a map with line of sight line, and I think that was one of their waiver requests.
No, that wasn't it. But anyway, I'll go back and look at it and see if I can find the
Chuck, did
proper
you get
place to
one of
put it
these?
in.
No.
Could you hand that down to,
Yeah, here, take this one. and I'll just- Thank you.
I bet you don't need one
All
because
right.
you were involved.
So, okay.
And then the other set of minutes was November 14th.
So you have a motion and a second to table until the next meeting, if you want to vote.
Oh, we had yeah, all in favor of tabling these till next meeting?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah. They,
Did we want to
They
do
can-
this
are they
second
going to
one?
just do that word change typo? Or we have to wait and do that next month, too?
Which word change? type?
That's
Oh.
fine.
Page 5,
he's got
just wait and do it next month? Okay.
that. Do you want, we had two cases, right?
Two sets.
Two cases that night?
Oh, that's the only one that I had issue with.
Okay, well, don't we want to approve the minutes from the other case?
Well, the November 14th. Yeah, we tabled the October 3rd. We have the November 14th. And I have some corrections on that one,
Okay.
which is simple. Could be simple. Those public hearings was the Romney one. I had no issue with that part.
So let's do that one. Does anybody else have any changes to the Romney minutes? Can I have a motion?
No, we do the whole packet. You don't just do a section.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't do each case?
No,
Okay.
you do the set of minutes. If you got anything in a portion,
All right.
yeah, which, like I do. So the second hearing that night was was that still a Romney thing way to the end? Is that all we heard?
No,
The
the-
solar field.
Romney.
Solar.
Romney was first.
But we went out to the field first.
Yeah, what was the second one?
The solar panels.
What?
It was
Solar
first.
farm.
That came
The
first, yeah.
solar?
The solar panels first, and then we.
No,
No, we did the Romney
Romney.
first.
Romney.
We went out for
Meeting.
the,
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
went out, okay.
Right.
I was
Yep.
thinking about the order of the site, sorry.
And then, if it was bold type, which it may be, okay, it is, B, Mountain Laurel Farms. Mountain
No,
Laurel
Mountain
Farms
Farms
Solar
was the
Pasture
last.
Garden. I don't know why it's like that, but anyway, B. So I only had something at the end, and I had an issue with, next to the last page for all intents and purposes, Tim Cronin made a statement about the solar panels were where the deer could go under, and then, and every single day they could chew on the grass, and the turkeys and the wild and the antelope play. So I counted that and said 21 acres with a 10-foot fence all around does not afford itself to the wildlife access to that existing area. That was a hayfield. That was my beef, something to that effect. And then on the last page, although there is a paragraph on the very last page, in and around the bottom third, S. Ryan commented not seeing the property as unique, because Tim had gone into a whole diatribe about it was flat, it was this, it was that, it was something else. And the description he gave was precisely the description of the whole neighborhood.
I remember you
So
saying that.
I said that that description applies to all of the neighborhood, and it is not unique to the neighborhood. So I'm just like that in there. That's all I have for that set of minutes.
Anybody else changes to that set of minutes?
I'd like to move the November 14th, 22 minutes to approve as amended.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Please register me as abstaining because I was not present.
Okay. Four ayes.
Okay, one out of the way, one left to go. Okay, it's all yours now, Madam Chairman.
No, it's ours. It's all ours.
Are you still on minutes?
No.
Well, because I have a question about minutes. Are all of these minutes in the physical packet downstairs? I was going through my email because I was going, I haven't seen these minutes. I haven't seen copies of the minutes.
They're supposed to be
electronically.
filed
get one in your
within
packet.
7 days with the town clerk.
Well, they're required to
Right.
be done in 5 days of the close of the hearing, yes.
Okay, but what I'm saying is I'm guessing they're in my packet downstairs, which I did not access.
No
Is there
packets
some-
downstairs.
I mean, you should have gotten
I
them in
didn't
an
get-
email.
I'm going through all of my emails. I don't have any emails with the minutes in.
Typically, as soon as the minutes are drafted, they're posted online. So within
So I have
5,
to access them myself. You're not sending copies of the minutes to everybody.
I can send an email to everyone if they'd like a copy of the minutes, that's fine.
Seems like it's happened both ways over time.
Yeah, because I think in the past I have gotten.
Well, to help clarify, I'm the numb one when it comes to computer and all that, and printing. So Tavis knows he has to get me a hard copy. So if you guys want hard copies, I'm sure he'll grant you that wish, but you have to let him know that you do not care to do by email and you want a hard copy. And He'll give you one.
I want an email.
Yeah.
I would prefer an
Yeah.
email if
That would
that's
be great.
possible.
I'm
because-
secretary for LRHHPF, and even though I'm chairman, I'm also secretary for the Ag Commission. When those minutes are done within 7 days after the meeting, they go out to every single person on those committees. It's 5 business days, it's 7 calendar days. They go out to everybody on the committees as well as Pat Waterman at the same time, so everybody gets them by
Yeah,
email.
Yeah, I mean, any board I've ever been part of, we got minutes, everything electronically. So I'm sorry, it's probably just me and my expecting something's going to show up in my email. So I didn't even, when I've been here in December, didn't even check for physical copies. So
Can you send them all by email when you finish? When they're
That would be
By the way,
helpful.
do we have a new minute taker? Not us, but the town?
The town has hired someone, yes.
Yeah, great.
Is she going to be, or he or she going to be at the meetings?
Eventually, yes.
Okay.
Starting with planning board and selectmen.
Okay, because it really is difficult for someone, especially if they're new, if they don't actually attend the minutes, the meeting physically and have to do the minutes. It hasn't worked in the past.
So Tavis, when you send out the email with the minutes to everybody, you will also send them over to Pat and tell Terry or you to put them online at the same time? It'll be one simultaneously.
Yeah, I literally write them in Word, save it as PDF, put it
I mean,
online.
do you do it or does Terry do
I
it?
do it.
Okay, so you can do the whole packet all at once.
Yeah.
This is the only board I'm on where the minutes aren't signed by who took them. Why is that?
By what?
The minutes are usually respectfully submitted by whoever wrote them.
It would be nice to know who wrote the minutes, for historic sake, yes.
Yeah.
We might not have to worry about that anymore.
Well, yeah, but when somebody else does it, they should be putting their name on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Not your name. Their
No,
name.
I mean whoever,
Yeah.
Tavis does it, or the new person does it, whoever does
Power
it.
with the pen.
Power of the pen. Yes.
I mean, for that matter, there's actually no process for approving minutes.
Right,
So
yeah, but still,
the minutes that are already written are with Pat, and then if the board makes amendments, the amendments get added to the minutes, and then there's 2 sets with Pat. So nothing actually changes in minutes, there's just a new set, so.
right. But we were talking about people saying at the bottom that they took the minutes. Yeah.
All right. I went through my plastic bag full of stuff, and it was kind of refreshing, because we haven't looked at it for a long time. Does everybody, you did this was a lot of work. Does everybody have one of those in their packet? And what Audrey,
What is it?
I think you did that, was you kind of outlined what each,
It's a
we have
chart.
3 versions that
Oh.
we're using. We're using the Audrey version,
I think
we're
Sabette
using the
actually
Sarah's
did that.
version, and we're using my Northampton version. And then it was very helpful to have the topic of each of those packets
Right.
in a list. So does that look familiar to you? It's very helpful.
We talked, I guess the first thing we talked about last time, and maybe we should start back with that, was what is the layout going to be, and do we need to move these sections around from where they are very much to match any of those other ones? And I thought we discussed this, and my feeling is that we should, for the most part, stay in the order that they are with some minor changes. I don't think that we have to have all the sections that everybody else has necessarily. We only have to have the sections that we need.
That's where the differences come in. I don't have a problem following this existing format, but I think and I would say that some of it may get rearranged, and there's definitely stuff that has to be added. This is part of the reason I brought it up. It's not complete, it's not thorough, and it leaves a lot to the guessing of the applicant or the board, and I just like to see a more complete packet. But in the interest of moving along, if we take our old town procedures, ZBA procedures, and use those headings to get started, and then the headings are authority, membership, offices, rules for public meetings.
And so the one that I had done with the red on it, if anybody has that, it basically follows this with some changes.
The one that says January 2022 at the top
Yes.
right-hand corner, thank you.
Right.
Yep, that's it.
So, I don't, I'm not going to argue the order. The order can always be changed. We're going to have to make one big vote at the end on the document. So what tonight might sound like a great idea to put as members, when we get through this whole thing, take it home and digest it, we may say, oh, that should go fifth, it should go second. So I'm not going to get hung up on the order in which anything appears, because every town does it a little different.
So, so I have some little changes on here that I don't remember why we did that. Number 2, members, I had written per schedule attached to these rules of procedure, but I've crossed out per schedule, and I don't remember why.
Mine is
There was an
crossed off
hour-long
as well.
discussion of the word schedule.
What?
There was about an hour-long discussion on the word schedule.
Okay,
People didn't like calling it a schedule.
all right. Let's see, it's called something in the,
What was your question? Roman numeral?
I had put a chart of the seat rotations, which I called a schedule, that is supposed to be kept with the rules and with Pat, so that everybody, so that the seats come up at the time that they're supposed to, and
So where
I
are
called
you-
it a schedule.
Where are you on here?
Just
It-
on the
Roman
members.
numeral 2,
Section 2, members.
first paragraph.
Okay.
Look up 673.5
Yeah.
Roman numeral 2. I don't have my book with me, but see what they call it there.
Where? They just say rotation.
673.52. If you're looking for wording, just take it from the RSA. What do they call it there?
I believe they call it a rotation. I'll just,
Okay.
uh, 673.5.
673.5,
Two.
Roman numeral 2.
The term of an elected or appointed local land use member shall be 3 years. The initial terms of members first appointed or elected to any local land board shall be staggered so that no more than 3 appointments or elections occur annually in the case of blah, blah, blah. They don't call it anything. Is it a term rotation? A term schedule?
Term of office.
What was that?
Term? They call it a term of office.
Term of office schedule.
Yeah,
Term of
the
office.
initial terms of members first appointed or elected to any local land use board shall be staggered, so as no more than 3 appointments or elections occur annually in the case of a 7 or 9 member board, and no more than 2 appointments or elections occur annually in the case of a 5-member board.
So what do we call that piece of paper that has that information? It's a term
It's-
rotation
it's-
schedule?
It's
Why do
just
we
a list of the people on their 3-year term.
No, it's not a
rotation.
list of the people, it's a list of the seats mostly.
Well, it's a person that has the staggered 3-year term
it's almost-
filling out that position.
No,
So-
it's the position
It's
that
the
has
seat
the
itself.
staggered.
So you're going to refer just to the position and not to the person?
Well, if the chart has the staggering of the seats, and then the people get plugged in as they get elected, and as their block comes up for another term, another person goes in, or they go in.
Yes, so if a zoning board member leaves after a year and a half, the board appoints someone for the first 6 months. Then they need to fill. then they run. In that case, they would run for the remaining year of that same seat, and then they would run for the full 3 after that.
Yeah, they fill, if someone had a 3-year term, like what you're saying, right? And they dropped out 6 months into it, they fill out the 6 months, we appoint the
You
person
appoint for
to fill
6
out the
months,
6
and then they
months.
run
That
for a year.
person has
Until the
the
next election.
That has the option to go run for the remaining term of that person, not another 3 years. It's the remaining term. But
So-
that's all by statute. I don't know why we're writing it up.
We're just saying, what do we call this piece of paper that has the,
I think you just leave it the way it is.
Yeah, what if-
To serve staggered 3-year terms per attached. Boom, end of report.
per attached?
Yep,
Okay.
Per what?
Per attached, that's.
per
what it is.
attached.
Per attached.
And so you just look at the attachment, and there's
Why
all
are
of the dates of the 3-year terms and the names
So you're
staggered.
getting, so the
into it.
word schedule was what was bothering
We
you?
took the scheduled out.
Why are we even?
So we have a special request from the TV audience asking for all, Suzanne and the lady to her left specifically, to speak directly into the microphone.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yep, microphone.
So the reason are you asking why do we have the schedule?
No, why do we have a per attached schedule? You pick up your town report, you pick up your town report, that's right in there.
No, isn't.
Well, it's supposed to be.
Okay, well, this is a schedule that isn't just for who's sitting that year, but goes on so that you know when these terms rotate. So it's something that Pat Waterman keeps, so as she's, putting people in, and as this board is seating people or people are getting elected, they know which seat they're going into. And without a chart, you can't tell whose seat is revolving.
So the attachment's going to be a chart?
It is a chart.
Simple, okay.
I don't have it, I don't know if I have it with me.
So per attached, I mean, that's simple.
Okay,
I
per
think,
attached.
As Sarah said, yeah.
I mean, I do have one someplace.
It might ultimately be the attachment needs to have all names removed from it and say, here's the 5 seats,
That's right.
here's the term.
Yeah, okay.
Well, theoretically, we update the rules of procedure every year after the new people are put on. I don't think it would hurt to plug in names so that there's clarification of each term.
I can't hear you.
We should,
Okay.
It's echoey. It's loud enough, but.
Because we're supposed to do these rules of procedures every year right after the people have been appointed, I don't think it hurts to keep an updated list with the names on it for clarification.
Yes.
If you're updating it once a year, it would theoretically always be accurate. It's a more exact way of tracking it.
I appreciate that it's something we shouldn't have to do. I appreciate the fact that we're going to do it because it's not being done right, but that should come from the central office under elections. When the elections are run, they're the ones that should keep track.
I think the town clerk is the one that's, the one who's meant to keep the schedule, because she's the one that,
Well, then we should put per the town clerk's schedule.
yeah, but I think, no,
It's not us. We don't get to make, we don't get to make the changes if it's done wrong. We can't say, oh, well, you know.
right, but if it's kept in 2 places, maybe it won't go missing again.
The town clerk clearly keeps track of all elected people. Then you have the Board of Selectmen appointing people.
I don't care about that.
And, well, who is in what position for how many years is just as important on committees as it is for elected positions.
That was relevant when they were appointed. We're all elected now.
I'm not just talking about this. I thought Audrey's was a general question, not just specifically only to us. But I may have misunderstood Audrey.
So, I'm not sure what my question was, but when I came on as chairman, there was no overall schedule of what seats were retiring in what years in the rotation. So I made one. And that's the one that I'm referring to, and it's one that Pat needs to have as she's following the rotation of the elected officials.
And you did do it, and you put a lot of time and effort into it.
It wasn't that hard, but I did do it.
Does it
And
have
you gave
names
one to
on it?
Pat?
Yes, it has, right now, yes. I believe Pat has a copy. So right now, it's got the names of the people who are in these seats, and then after March, those names will shift, and it will be whatever it is. So it's like an ongoing chart.
Well, then why wouldn't we want to go with that?
We do. I think the question is, Suzanne's asking, why should we attach it to our rules of procedure?
I think it's a fallback checkpoint.
Yeah, better to
Yeah.
have more information, or in two places, I think, yeah.
Well, I like the idea of the secretary keeping it on file, and that we just review it every year after March
What
meeting.
secretary? What secretary?
There you go.
The secretary, the recording secretary that we're going to get, or we give it to Tavis and say, keep this in the file. This is what this is how the appointments fall. So he has it.
I think the errors that have occurred or may have occurred over time is people are very quick to go to the website and say, oh, Audrey Klein expires 2024. She disappears in February of 23. Does that new person come in with a 3-year term? And I think it's just a miscommunication on how that happens. So a lot of it, I think, is largely driven by misinformation on the website as opposed to people not really knowing what's going on. So once you sit down and you drill down, okay, it's not a face, it's not a name, it's just a seat and a term. It's fairly straightforward. I don't mind keeping it. I'm going to use the same schedule that Audrey created and replace the names.
I think one of the big issues that I met when I created it was the alternate seats had not been on that list. So I added that to the
Correct.
rotation.
And the statute isn't very clear. If you appoint
Right.
4 alternates en suite, how do you determine the rotation schedule? Sorry, how do you,
The length of
I said
term,
schedule again, I didn't mean that.
length of
Per
appointment.
attached.
That works, that's where I
Okay.
believe it landed, yes.
Then the designation of alternate members, I moved from another section because I thought that that fit under the members category rather than where it was. Which now I don't see it.
You mean where it was originally?
Yeah, and where it is presently in the rules of procedure.
It might have been under rules for public meetings if it listed that you had to appoint them before.
I've
Yeah,
got it,
that's
it's
right.
67311, designation of alternate members.
So they're two different things, I think. Right.
Page 2 of our old rules, alternates who are not seated by the chair, is that what you're looking for? Or above it is rules of public meetings, there's
Yes.
2 references to alternates, is that what you were
Yeah,
hunting for?
rules
Yeah,
for
no,
public
I
meetings,
see
number
that.
3, yeah.
Yeah.
So why did I do that? The second paragraph talks about how those alternates can participate. The first paragraph talks about how they get into a seat, into a voting seat.
Should I assume per attached also in that paragraph too?
Number 2, paragraph 2?
2.2?
Yes, yes.
I thought we went by that and we're up
The
to
one that we have
3.
now is number 3, alternate members, if any regular board member is absent from any meeting or hearing or disqualifies him herself from sitting on a particular case, the chair shall designate an alternate member to sit in his place on the regular member. The appointed alternate shall act in all respects as a full member of the board while so sitting. An alternate, once seated to hear an application as a voting member, shall continue serving as a voting member of the board of that application until such time as the final action is taken on the application. Why don't we just use that? And then put the statute number next to it?
because I guess the reason, again, the reason why I split that up, because rules for public meetings.
Well, then I guess you have to decide, do you want to put the whole thing of alternates in together?
I didn't think that they belonged together, because I felt that that first paragraph was how they get seated, and the second one was how they participate at a public meeting.
Well, but that's the way our old one is, it's split up.
No, it's in the
No.
same sections. It's under rules for public meetings.
I know, but it's a number 3 and a number 4, or it should be a number 3 and a number 4. It should be renumbered, so it's got its own number. Because then the second part, in a different paragraph, is about alternates who are not seated. It tells what they do during a public hearing,
Right,
alternates.
and those are also, that's under the rules for public meetings.
Well, but it can go over here, too. If you want to describe the job description of members, then is that what you're trying to do? Is single that out what the job description is, and then
How they, yeah,
repeat itself?
how they get to be voting members.
Well,
And
then
then
you-
over here is what they do when they're members.
All right, well, then you've got it.
Yeah, I do, but
Wait,
I had
Excuse
forgotten.
me, Audrey, if you look at the old minutes,
Yep.
that second paragraph under number 3, which says what happens to alternates not seated, where is it in your,
If you go to
tell me
the
what page?
rules for public hearings,
Page 4?
I don't have page
Oh,
numbers
yeah,
either.
page 4, it's the paragraph numbered 4.
Yeah, that one is in the same place that it was before. I only moved
Part of
the
rules.
first one over to members.
Okay. All right,
I think it's a good split.
so we haven't lost it, that's all I was concerned about.
So we
Yeah.
had gone through some of these because I had then put attendance, continuing education, vacancies, and then officers.
I had some notes around continued education, which is Roman numeral number
Yep.
4.
I was supposed to bring a draft.
And
for
it
the
says
new-
see new RSA.
Yep. So, because the new RSA,
Do we have a number for that?
Is this the one from about 5 months ago?
yeah.
Yes.
I don't know that that's actually an RSA. Summary of changes, yeah. House Bill 1661, I'm not sure what RSA it ended up being.
What is it, the one about time frame?
Training.
Replaces existing language on permissible training offered by the Office of Planning and Development, OPD, with new language which clarifies that any planning board or zoning board of adjustment, ZBA member, including alternate members, may receive training from ODP or another organization such as NHMA, which offers training. Also requires ODP to develop specific optional training materials and corresponding tests for planning board and ZBA members. So I think the bigger change is that there's a test available. The other bigger change is a lot of this training can be done online individually at home, whereas you used to have to go to a daily thing before, go actually into someplace before. So I think that makes training, that means asking for a certain amount of training is more reasonable. And I actually was just reading one of the handouts from the Christopher Bolt lectures, that he suggested that 6 hours within the first 6 months was a reasonable amount of training to request people to have.
The only problem I see with what you have written in red is it says shall participate, and I don't think the state law
I agree.
mandates it. It's
No.
may.
Yeah, I was going to ask who holds the members accountable?
Well,
Like if
I
we're
don't
being
think-
asked to do this, but who's
Right.
tracking it? Who do we report it back to? Who holds them accountable?
And
Is it
that's
you
why
or
we
is it
haven't had a
Tavis?
full conversation about this, because there are those questions that we haven't, really figured out what to do about that.
Well, personally, I dislike the online seminars. I hope very much that with this COVID thing settling down, that we go back to in-person gathering seminars where we go to Concord or we go somewhere
You're
and,
never going back there completely.
well, I don't know.
Well, they're starting to do individual
There's going to be
ones.
hybrid, maybe. There are ways to have really functional meetings that are hybrid. But I don't think that's what we need to talk about, right? I mean,
Yeah, I'm
we
talking
don't
about,
control that.
I'm talking about if you had ever been to one of these seminars in person, they're really very interactive. They're wonderful.
They are
You
good.
play out that you're at a meeting, and the guys, the lawyers that know this stuff, they'll say, okay, for a variance, what is number 5? What is a hardship? And they're great. These things that are online, forget it.
I guess
But
my point is that we're not making the decision about the content and the delivery of the
No, I know, but
trainings.
I see no
So-
use to this. I see no
Well,
use.
so I actually added part of this last sentence. It may be taken remotely, in person, or as self-study. So we're really just asking people to self-report on stuff that they looked into and learned. And if they have a question about something that they came across that they couldn't find a good answer to, bring it up.
And I
So
think it does.
it is an honor system.
As long as it says may and not shall.
Yeah.
And I think it does
Cross out
belong
shall.
in here, since the state mandated, well, they did mandate it to us, or said that was going to be something we were
It
going to have to
isn't.
do. I thought he said it was, we were going to
It
be, and
isn't.
take a test.
It isn't
well,
mandated.
no,
The state
it's
law
not.
doesn't
They-
mandate it.
They have tests, but they're voluntary.
If it
Okay.
says may, it's up to you. It's mandated when they say shall.
So
Well,
the question
just in
is,
support of it, I think should remain in here.
should we say that in the first year, a member shall participate in a minimum of 6 hours and self-report on that to us, that they did that?
I think it should say may. They're elected people. You or me cannot mandate him to do that.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree that whether we should or shouldn't, but I think we can mandate it if we so choose in the rules of procedure. I'm not suggesting that we should, but I don't think it's illegal to mandate it. We could ask the attorney, and I'm not necessarily saying that.
Just
I
take out
think-
the word shall and leave may, and I'll go along with it. You leave the
That's
word
fine.
shall in there, and I can't go along with it. You can't,
So how do we encourage people
Well,
to do
may
it?
doesn't have any kind of push to it. Encourage to might be.
Right, why
Something.
don't we do exactly that? Say all are encouraged to train 6 hours per year.
Right.
Could say expected to.
Expected, that's a good word.
Yeah. I think that's good.
anything
I was
other
wondering,
than,
there's nothing in our old ones at all that says anything?
no.
No.
Nothing.
I'd like our expected
I think I
to.
probably copied a lot of this
sure.
from another town's, language. I didn't make that all up myself, except for the last
Well, it's
sentence.
new. It's new in the last year.
No, the other places have continuing education without this new thing.
Oh, the test thing is new then.
Yes, yeah. So we'll do, are encouraged to
Yeah.
participate?
I like our
I like
expected.
expected
It
too.
has a little more,
Expected.
it has a little more teeth, and I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I think it sets the bar a little higher.
Are
Yeah.
expected
I agree.
Okay.
to participate.
What if you said are expected to participate
Does it
and
say-
self-report?
And,
Does it say self-report
Does it
anywhere in
say
there?
No.
no, but.
No, you know what? I don't want to report to any of you.
But then the first year was someone else for the first time. A regular
We're all equal
member
counterparts
is
here. We
expected
each have
to
one vote.
participate.
That's true.
Are expected to participate.
But it's singular in the first line.
Oh, it
there.
is? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I disagree, and I'm looking at it through the lens of somebody
Yes.
who just joined the board, or as an alternate. the rules of procedure help me understand what is expected of me.
All
Not
current
so much that
members
it's punitive
are
in some
expected.
way that I have to self-report, but it tells me that as a new member, I've got to put that, I got to do that, and that I think it's a good thing to self-report and say, hey, just for, and it's not a big deal, nobody's holding my feet to the fire, but to say, hey, I watched this session and blah, 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 and I have a question, I just think it makes for a healthy, ongoing, continuing discussion among members to help development as a whole. It's not even just about me as the new member. I have the opportunity to bounce something off of the rest of the group. And maybe they say, oh, that's something I hadn't heard because it's something that just came
But you
out.
can do that anyway. You can do that anyway under other business. You can say, you know what, guys, I listened to that
You
seminar.
can. I'm just, okay.
Yeah,
It's-
how often
this
do we
is-
get to other business on when we have,
Indeed.
you know?
Never.
That's why, I mean, a second one, a second participatory meeting might be fun every month for people who could come and talk about the stuff as a group.
I think, there's no harm in people self-reporting, and I have to say that starting back in the 80s, I started attending what used to be the law lecture series,
Still is.
and they would have them in different towns,
Yep.
usually the month of October. And it used to be that a whole bunch of planning board members, Conservation Commission, and ZBA, we'd all carpool, and we'd go up. But then, I don't know, people change on the boards, and that a number of people that were educated seemed to diminish. And I have taken a bunch of these online things, and I've taken a bunch of these all-day Saturday sessions. And I do have to kind of agree with Suzanne that when you're there in person, Tavis asks a question, Suzanne follows it up with another, the attorney is addressing it, which gives Sabette a question she wants to ask that she maybe never thought of. That is like light years ahead of somebody texting in a question or emailing in a question that they may or may not even get to at the end. It happens right in the middle of the discussion so that it's pertinent and everybody's right on the topic. That looking at stuff that was typed in at the end, I don't think is as valuable, and you don't have that focus.
Yeah, this is my field that I worked in for 40 years, leadership and training development, and I totally agree with you, except what I've learned recently. I think like the training session that we went to with the guy from New Hampshire, whatever, I mean, the zoning department, whoever, what was the one we went to that we attended virtually in the summer? It was terrible. He read everything to us from a
yes,
piece
no.
of paper.
He was from
It was
ODP. It
horrendous.
was awful.
I, on the
Yeah.
other hand, have gone to sessions that lasted not this topic, but for a weekend, where there is so much going on that you have very rich discussions in chat groups. And even though I'm retired now, some of the people that are friends of mine that were always in person that now are online say they have richer discussions online doing virtual training as opposed to in person, because they have a tech person doing chat groups and there's so much more interaction. I can't conceive of it. I'm too freaking old to try to do that anymore. So I'm with you, but I do think we can't discount really good hybrid rich discussions.
That's
but
the
again,
key, really good
right,
hybrid,
and
we don't
based
get
on
it.
what we saw and experienced in the summer, that was horrible.
Yeah, I've been to better ones, though, even, just given by NHMA, where
I
where you
didn't even
do-
think they allowed enough time for questions at that last one.
Well, there's often not enough time live also. I mean, I think that time, there's never enough time for all the questions that,
But
you
live, you
wanna
can
hear.
go up to the podium and talk to them after it's
Afterwards.
stopped.
Yes.
I mean,
I agree. I mean, that paid my
My women's
paycheck for.
group has a hybrid every Tuesday morning, and we meet at All Saints in the library.
Well, you know what,
And
it
they
doesn't have to, I'm sorry,
One
Kate,
second.
I didn't
They
hear
have a
you.
360-degree camera, thank you. They have the OWL camera, and so the computer, and so actually the people that are remote, we have somebody from Seattle that's remote. She comes in, and when she talks, that's what you see on the screen. That pretty much fills the screen, but everybody can see everybody else with this camera. It's pretty neat.
yeah, that's nice.
And
Look leave it any way you want. We're going to have to go back and vote this in.
So why don't we say a
This is a
regular
draft.
alternate member is expected to, and then on the next line, and all current members are expected to attend. So let's just use the are expected to, and People follow example. If we start doing it and bringing up things that we'd like to talk to each other about, other people are going to, if we go to trainings and talk about it, people coming in are going to want to do that.
Yep. And if we have,
And if they
you
don't-
have the
You're a
plan-
rosy optimist.
Well, it might take several rotations, but
it becomes part of the culture.
Yeah, that's right.
This is a draft. We don't have to keep continuing beating that dead horse, but I would like to go back to alternates because you did
I
have,
thought we beat that dead horse.
well, no, we didn't, because I had one that I had handed out to you. It was my chopped up version, and under alternates, members and alternates, and under alternates.
Thank you.
To answer Sabette, it has a complete description, I don't know, right here,
Oh, thank you.
at meetings, and it talks about the whole bale of wax there. If you wanted to pick up your rules of procedure as to what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Well, I probably trimmed that down because we're kind of on opposite sides of the boat with how much stuff to put in.
Well, but
And I want to be very
I don't
brief.
care if it's 20 pages. I really don't care.
I know, but I do. I really
Well,
do.
if it gets the information, you just heard Sabette say she would like to be able to pick up a document that tells her what her duties or role is. And that doesn't tell, the one that you have doesn't tell you a whole lot.
Well,
Well, it does, doesn't it?
So what would you like to include back here about alternates? I'm
Well,
kind of
Suzanne,
lost.
so Suzanne's reading from where it basically adds, well, I don't even see the section number here. Is this where you
No, this
pulled
is
from
something
something else?
I put together.
But it goes into a lot of detail, saying during a public hearing, alternates may sit at the table with
have
regular
that.
members, they may view documents, they may listen to testimony, they may ask questions and interact
That's in the
the
ERC.
applicant with the butters, applicants, and the public. They shall not be allowed to make or second motions. Is this a seated alternate, though? They should be, a voting alternate should be able to do that, shouldn't they? Once the board moves into deliberations, alternates shall remove themselves. Oh, this is an alternate who hasn't been voted, this is a not activated alternate. Got it.
so that's the same as number 4 under rules for public meetings, which is 9, section 9, 4, alternates who are not seated by the chairman to fill the seat of an absent or recused member may participate with the board in a limited capacity. During a public hearing, alternates may sit at the table with the regular members and may participate in the review and deliberation of the application, but shall not participate
This is
in
that-
any vote on the application.
You got it, it's in here. That's what basically the same thing.
Okay? During
It's right
work
here.
sessions, alternates may fully
number?
participate
4.
exclusive of any motions and votes.
I've got
So
9.
why is that?
Under 9, rules for public meetings, number 4. And I think, again, it makes sense because you put it into the activity
meetings.
itself, what's happening in the meeting, as opposed to the job description. So it's in there.
Oh, no, I'm looking at something else.
So
So we okay?
can we go to
So is
Roman
everybody happy
numeral-
with the attendance section? I
Five.
mean, the designation of alternate members section?
It's only a
Yes.
draft.
Yeah.
It's good.
I am, because you've got both things covered, they're just in different sections that relate to the activity of that section.
Okay.
So,
So we're back to the next page now, Roman numeral 5
So then we'd be back under
vacancies.
vacancies, right.
I have a question on number 4. My notes from our last meeting on this draft said that you were going to revise section 4 to
Right.
agree with the newest laws on training requirements.
but the training requirement isn't a law. I mean, it's offered,
it's a-
but it's voluntary.
Whatever. So I guess That's what I wrote down. Does it have to be, is there any further rewriting that's required?
I don't think so.
Okay.
What I was doing is I was looking for this article, but this really doesn't say anything other than what I already read to you about what they did.
All right, so we're good. Okay.
So I think we've got everything on the first page except for the attendance section, which is the same wording because it's not in red, but it's moved up to where it is instead of,
Because it's important.
well, maybe
What do
there
you-
was no attendance. There was, though.
Yeah, we kind of skipped over that.
Oh, yeah, so the attendance, in the old one, the rules for public meetings has the attendance. I may have pulled it out more in order with Laughlin's list,
In here?
more in order with that. I'm not sure.
Let's see.
But in any case, the wording shouldn't be any different. I guess it might be a little,
Yeah, your chart that you have of the order doesn't come close to this one, the two different ones.
yeah, I stuck more with what was there, but
You
where is
have,
the attendance in Laughlin's?
you have authority, membership, attendance.
Okay, that's how I moved it
Then
here.
continuing education.
That's how I moved it here. And is
Okay.
that under the Laughlin column?
Laughlin Collin is election and duties of officers, requirements for completed application, notification of public hearing, conduct of hearing.
Okay, that's completely different.
It
Yeah.
may be under conduct of hearing regarding membership of alternates and how they participate.
I don't think any of the others had that in there because it's relatively new.
Attendance?
That, not only the tests, but the,
No, the attendance.
We're talking about attendance.
the what?
Attendance.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the
No.
one in red.
No, we stepped
Done with
back
that.
one.
Okay, so, again, it's the same wording that's already in the rules of procedure, but I moved it out of the rules for public meetings and put it into the first page.
Makes sense.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Say that again.
It's the same wording that's in the original one, but I've moved it from the section that says rules for public hearings, which seems to be a catch-all, and I've moved it to this page where there's more of the general rules, I guess.
Have you got can you find an RSA that talks about elected members being removed? We're elected. So it used to be when you're appointed, you'd report to the selectmen that they've not done a sufficient job, and they would remove them. So I don't know to what extent we can, other than say you've been a poor member and your attendance has been poor, so we're asking you to step down. I don't think we have any authority to make them step down.
I think
They're
it's
elected
this-
for 3 years, they'll stay here for 3 years.
I think it's the same as if you ask somebody to recuse themselves,
Right.
we can ask them, but they don't have to.
They don't have to.
Right.
But
So
I think that you're absolutely right, because we don't have any power to remove them, but we can shame them into removing themselves if they're, essentially not attending anyway.
Well, but remember, all this is saying is
It's just requesting them.
any member alternate from 2 consecutive meetings or 2 meetings in a 12-month period shall provide sufficient reason for the majority of the board to vote affirmatively to request the
Request,
member
it's just a
resign.
request.
Right.
And the alternates technically aren't voted in, they're appointed, it's just the members that are voted in. So I suppose you would have some standing with an alternate if you requested that they resign, but I still don't think you can force them to.
Well, actually, the alternates
An
are
alternate
voted in by the board.
by us.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
could just not appoint them the following year.
True. Or 3 years. They're on rotation.
Rescind their, make a motion to rescind their appointment due to lack of attendance.
Hopefully, we
Do
never have to do
you want to
that.
put that in here, or do you
No.
want to not put it in here?
No, I mean, the chair can also not seat them if they're not participating, we're not going to be able to get up and get seated on a case if they never show up,
Okay.
right?
It can stand by itself.
I think so. I think less is better.
Okay. Can we move on to 5 vacancies at 7:15?
Okay. Hey, we got through the first page, that's good.
Did we have an end time that we stated? Oh, thank
We're
you.
doing 6 to 8 on these vacancies. So it's in red, so I must have changed something.
You changed at the last meeting, let's see, 5(1)B, the chairperson may designate an alternate.
Where are you?
This is,
Oh, you
Roman
turned
5,
shall to may.
1B,
Okay, got
yep.
it, got it.
Shall became
That's
may.
right,
And the
yeah.
next to last line. Okay?
So you changed shall to may, or may to
did.
shall?
It
No,
was shall.
May.
Shall to may, meaning the
Okay.
chairperson is not required to designate an alternate member to fill the unexpired term. And apparently, this is an RSA on 67312. Let's see whether I got that right. Probably did. May. So it's May in the RSA.
because you don't have to fill,
Right.
if you dropped out, we don't have to fill your spot.
No one can.
You don't-
So this section is verbatim out of,
No one can.
out of the well, not verbatim, because I didn't write the whole thing out, but what's written here is the same that's written in the RSA, but condensed a little bit. Because I don't want to print entire RSAs in our rules. People need to go look at it.
All right, just let me read what another town had that I kind of liked, I guess.
Are you on office? Which one are you on?
Vacancies?
Oh, you're still in vacancies. I'm sorry, I thought we were done with it.
The thing is, if the other town didn't have the wording of the RSA, then they can't do it like that. So I think I read what you turned in, and it's contrary to the RSA.
I don't think it's contrary to the RSA. This town
Okay.
wouldn't have adopted it.
Oh, absolutely they would have. So what is it?
Well, it says, filling of vacancies. Although the board is under no legal obligation to appoint an alternate, if it opts to do so, appointments, if made, will be made by the ZBA, and at any ZBA meeting when there has been proper notice and there is a candidate for the consideration. So I think it behooves the board to put some kind of notice out there so people don't just slip in, I got a friend that wants to be on. So I'm just bringing that point that we should advertise, so to speak, or put a notice in the paper the ZBA is looking for.
But this is member vacancies that
I'm talking
occur
about all.
other than through the expiration of a term of office. So this is only when there's an empty seat, not when we're reappointing an alternate to their next 3-year terms. That we all vote on. And we can have a dialogue with the candidates at that point. This is only for filling vacancies in membership of local land use boards that occur other than through the expiration of a term, meaning it's vacated. And that's why That's
saying the same thing.
It
It's saying
isn't.
we're not under any obligation to appoint somebody.
yes.
To fill a vacancy, we're not.
Correct, that's why it says the chairperson may, but
right?
is not required to fill a
But
vacancy.
what all of this is saying, when there is a vacancy of a term,
What?
of a vacancy of a term of an alternate,
But that's not what this section is about.
this is
It's
all
not about
unexpired.
a vacancy in a,
well, where do you have that then?
ha-
Where do you have that in the
Suzanne.
procedures?
Suzanne, if you were to leave right now and say, I'm never coming back, right? If you were to leave right now, because you're an elected member, if you were to walk out and say, I'm done with this board, I'm leaving, Audrey, as chair,
I'm
would,
not talking about that part. I'm talking.
but that's what this paragraph is talking about.
Well, all right, so where's, if you're gonna, you've got a heading, vacancies. You aren't defining, I'm having trouble with you separating stuff out. Some things are for the board members in the beginning of the first page, and then further on, you've got alternates, how they participate. So maybe it's the heading that needs some work, rather than just vacancies?
so it could go along with the RSA that it's quoting, filling vacancies in memberships,
Yeah,
Vacancy in membership?
vacancy in membership, vacancies in memberships, or vacancies in membership, or vacancy in memberships. Either way. Was that even in,
So this addresses only a vacancy that occurs outside the expiration of a term of office. So
Right.
these are
Correct.
things like midterm or.
like what happened with basically all three of you, and now Chuck's seat is coming up in March for another 3-year term if he applies to the board to sit for another 3 years, the board will vote whether we want him as the alternate or not, because he's starting a new 3-year term. So that term, no, it's not vacant because it hasn't started yet. It's ripe?
this vacancies is somebody drops out,
Yes.
whether they're elected or appointed, and
Yep.
you've broken it down to elected and appointed. And it's not,
Except for, that's different from voting members to alternates. It's not the same for each group.
well, you've got A and B. B is
Yeah.
alternates.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is for when, although their
The board
term
doesn't-
hasn't expired,
Right.
That's the
Sarah
key.
said, I can't fill out the rest of my term. This is what we refer to.
That's right.
Right.
Vacancies
So
in
in the case of
membership.
A, in the
A,
case of A,
A,
the members find someone else, and in the case of B, the chair does.
no, the members vote in the alternate.
Well, they do
No.
vote, but the
No,
chair
the-
designates someone, and then
B,
you vote.
the chairperson
That's the one
may
we went
designate an
through,
alternate
Sarah.
member.
I know, we didn't agree on that
That's,
before.
that's the one we've been through. I request a hold on that.
Okay,
B.
we can, did we have a written opinion on that?
We wrote it on Sabet,
We did vote on Sabet.
I remember.
And we ended up voting
Me too.
on all of you.
Yes, you did, yeah.
That's right, we
It
did.
was the first.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we did. But I don't know,
The chair doesn't, and we've been, because there's another part to that statute. You and I have been over and over this again.
It's
I've
right
been over
here.
it with her.
there's not another part. It's all right there.
The chairman doesn't appoint.
For an alternate member, the chairman may designate an alternate member to fill the unexpired term.
That's what the statute says.
That's what it says, word for word.
There's another part to that somewhere. Sarah, I don't have it. Remember?
I don't have
we-
my book with me.
It's right here. It's right here.
I don't know which one's bigger.
So there was a
No.
little
There's
tempest in a
another
teapot
place in there
last
where it
year,
says,
last term.
Yeah,
But you have the,
Here, it starts here.
Yep.
And
I had
it
it.
goes here.
Are you
And it
talking about
covers-
where it says if
It
you're,
covers other situations, but that's not in here.
yeah, but I want the statute. That's from some website.
I've got it, she's got it
This
right
is
here.
the, yeah, I'll pass it to you.
It's a website that has the whole set.
No, I mean, it's like that legal opinion
Right, it's not
website.
just
I
the
want
plain
book.
RSA.
In
yeah.
whatever I'm reading, it basically says it's strongly encouraged to verify the method in which those alternates were established, to make sure they're.
That's not the
that's author-
statute.
That's not, okay.
What is that you're reading?
I
Well,
don't
it
know,
just
you're
says-
reading from some town
Suzanne wants to
ordinance.
see it too.
Oh, you're reading from the.
RSA 673-6, appointment number and terms of alternate members.
Yes, that's appointment and when their term starts, not a vacancy during the term.
Okay.
So that's different.
It's actually not 673. Oh, no, never mind, my mistake, I was looking at the next one down, sorry.
Filling
Never mind.
vacancies.
Brain cramp here.
Is it under the heading that says filling vacancies in membership? Vacancies in the
Right.
membership
RSA
of a local
673-12.
occurring other, okay.
It does say until the
Occurring
vacancy.
other than through the, that's the important part right
For an
there.
appointed ex officio or alternate member, it doesn't really say what to do.
We're not appointed, so,
I think it's you have to go down,
It says it may designate an alternate member of the board to fill the vacancies temporarily until it's filled in the manner set forth in paragraph 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Elected, by being elected, or then, I guess, appointed by the board.
so with regard to putting it in here, this language is exactly what's in the book. So is there a problem with putting it in there?
Well, if you read
because
number-
you got to read further down.
Okay, it's in number 3, Roman numeral 3, under 673-12, it says, "The chairperson of the local land use board may designate an alternate member of the board to fill the vacancy temporarily until the vacancy is filled in the manner set forth in paragraph 1 or 2." And
Yeah,
paragraph
there it
2
is.
says for an appointed, which the alternates are, ex officio or alternate member by the original appointing or designating authority for the unexpired term. And no place does it say that the chairperson is the original appointer of an alternate.
It does in 1B.
It does, yeah.
I just read one.
I think it's poorly written. I think it's hard to understand what
Well,
it's trying to
legalese is
say.
always very difficult.
That's okay. Can we just leave this until later and move on?
Sure.
Table the word chairperson until we've studied that.
Okay. 6. Now, I have officer/recording secretary because.
I did too.
Okay. So we made that suggestion,
The slash recording secretary was added the last time.
and then we were going to swap paragraphs 4 and 5.
Yes.
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 Okay,
I got
so
that, yep.
that section's all set, right?
Offices,
Amen.
Yes. Officers/recording secretary.
so 1, 2, 3, and 4, and
1, 2,
5.
3, 5, and 4.
Yep.
Kenny?
And 4.
Yeah, but we're switching 1, 2, 3, 5, and 4 is how we're going to,
Oh, we're switching them around?
4 and 5 are going to switch.
You know, it's up to the board, but, and I don't think it's right, but I read in one of these that their officers' terms are more than 1 year, but I think 1 year has been traditional with us, so.
I think the board can decide how long it is.
Yeah,
That's not an RSA.
No, one town had, until it was voted otherwise,
Right.
you know? I mean, we've had some good ones and we've had some bad ones, so.
So applications,
There was a change in 1B3. to add the word legible.
Actually, that there was a change in such decision regarding incomplete applications may be appealed as a decision of administrative official is not correct.
Wait a minute, you're going too fast for me. The zoning administrator is authorized by the Board of Justice to refuse applications which do not meet the minimum application requirements below.
That's not a true statement, the way it's written, but
What we were trying to say was if the zoning administrator told somebody, your application is crap, they're never gonna, you don't have the stuff here that the zoning administrator could reject it or refuse it.
Correct.
And that we're not allowed to do that by law, so that
Correct.
goes away.
One of the other towns has something written quite specific about what is expected of the review of an application before it comes
Yeah.
to us.
And I did go through this I whittled this down to what I thought was the really important things, and instead of having 12 things, I think there's 5. But how do we renumber this?
well, I left off, I had 7 applications. It was the paragraph that was suggested, and then check with town attorney to make sure we can do this, and that was confirmed that no, we can't. So I don't know if that paragraph stays at all or comes out entirely. The next one,
Has to come out,
You're looking at paragraph 1 under 7.
application.
7.1, yeah.
Yes.
It all comes out?
I would do, I'm just asking.
We have the note there that says, check with town attorney, make sure we can do
Right.
this, RSA 676:7. Did we ever determine that?
Yes, we were told you can't.
You
Cannot,
can't, so we can just cross off.
which I got directly from the Portsmouth Rules of Procedure, and it's still in there.
Okay.
But we've been told we can't do it, and I believe you. I believe her.
So basically, this is just
Well,
given
I mean,
direct.
I can understand why some towns might still have that in there. If someone failed to pay the fee or pay the complete fee or failed to put a correct name or something like that, it could be rejected on that it's basically not a legitimate application. But because the board wants a list of how many apples consumed in the month of October, and they didn't detail that, you can't just deny the application on that.
Doesn't this go back to something Laura said one time, that if you want to make something dependent on the application, you have to make the application part of your procedures?
Yes, which we will be doing,
Correct.
that's phase 2.
Which is the workaround to this, yes.
Okay, got it. Are we going to then start with A and B? Are we going to renumber them?
That's
one?
what I was going to say, is that 1 and 2? What's required?
I think if the group is okay with what it says, I can play with the numbering to see how that works out with the rest of the document.
Okay, so to the bigger discussion, these are the minimum requirements that I feel are necessary without the others that I don't feel are necessary, but I think that's going to be the rest of our conversation here tonight, probably.
I had as D, which would now, I guess, be number 4 on the beginning of the next page, it says,
Waiver.
say what? For good cause shown in something, and I don't know what my last word was.
Which number are you on?
Go to the top of the next page,
Yep,
okay?
yep.
And then I had a notation adding a D.
Oh, okay.
I do too, and I have a D and it says waiver, and I'm not sure what that means.
Well, waiver became part of that discussion. There's nothing to quote, the board doesn't have a process to deem an application complete, so there's nothing to request a waiver from.
We
Yeah.
know that now. Planning
So,
board does
take-
complete, we
yeah.
don't do complete.
Right,
So
but I
take
think
that off.
that's where the word waiver came into this. It was back with that discussion.
Yeah, and the years I've sat on boards, they've chosen not to have a waiver provision. It is what it is. This is what you have to do, and we're not wavering that because these are the minimum requirements. We're not asking
Actually,
too much
we were
from you.
saying the waiver to the minimum requirements.
We shouldn't be wavering the minimum requirements. It's the minimum thing that you got to do to get into the hearing.
Then it
But I
should
think
be pretty.
perhaps 7 needs to say applications, minimum requirements.
Yeah, because right now, the sections A and on proceed from the idea that, that you're going to refuse the application, and it's a little bit misleading.
I don't see the
Right.
waiver part.
So we're going to rename Roman numeral 7 cross-off applications and call it,
I'm just putting out ideas.
oh, okay,
Because
so
the majority of the list looks like
minimum
minimum
requirements.
requirements.
But aren't they published someplace else?
No,
No.
that's the issue.
Oh, okay.
Minimum requirements for applications.
Yeah, okay.
And I didn't see, where were you guys reading them on the waiver thing?
That was, last time we spoke, we put a D, and it said waiver, and so we decided I think that was a waiver of these graphical elements.
All right, but we're not going to waive these minimum requirements.
So we could
Well,
go,
let's talk
Oh,
about that.
well, there may be instances where a particular graphical element, I mean, you may not need to see lighting contours for a special exception, or you may not need to see lighting contours for a variance.
Yeah, but that's why we have to be careful that the minimum requirements are really minimum and not, because if we can't waive them,
Or put the waiver.
or put the waiver to the, just
Because-
to this.
Because it's, I'll say it again, I've said it 1,000 times for 100 years. Most of these applications that come before us end up going back to the planning board where they're going to need everything that we ask for anyway.
No, I mean, I don't agree with that. Because, for instance,
Or they go to the building department and they're going to need that.
and that's why I tried to keep these really simple,
The
because,
building
yes,
department's going to need everything that you've got here.
a site plan to scale, scale indicator and north arrow, I mean, that's really not hard for a lot of us that do this, but somebody coming in with a sideline setback might have difficulty providing that. And do we have the ability to look at what they've drawn and waive that if we think that their drawing is adequate? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
what if
Very
we,
seldom do we get Joe Smith himself coming in with a piece of thing on a piece of paper. Typically.
Well, I think we had
did
about
with the
3 this year.
garage. We did
Yeah.
the
But
that had the garage.
I'm saying it's the minority of applications that come before us like that.
So should we have the ability to waive it for somebody like that?
yeah.
If we're going to put
Well-
waivers in there, then we should put in some stricter things.
I don't know if it's a waiver or if the board has the ability to say, as submitted, it has enough information for the board to act.
Yeah.
But
Which
if
is-
we're going to use the word minimum requirements,
Oh, I'm not agreeing with that necessarily. I'm just saying.
Are you basically okaying that some substitutions are okay, so that, for example, they can come in with their handwritten version of the garage instead of something that
They're going to, no.
well, they can always come in with a hand-done one, but there are some critical things they need on their plan.
And Audrey was in the building department here in this town, and I can tell you, she much would prefer something drawn to scale, not a sketch, because that's what we end up with these things around town
But
that
you
are a
can sketch,
nightmare.
you can sketch to scale, so I don't want to use the word not a sketch, because a sketch to scale is still okay.
Well, then we say,
Well, and I
yeah,
wasn't disagreeing with the list that you have, but just that maybe sometimes there are viable substitutions.
I think,
Because I'm thinking about the guy that they had used their garage and created a bedroom, and they wanted to do the other garage, and we were basically telling them they were worried they had to go back and spend more money to hire somebody to draw, right? Or to do something, and we were trying to help them out so that they wouldn't have to spend more money.
but that was a different
That-
issue.
that-
That was locating wetlands.
Shorefront, or not
In
shorefront,
the applications, the denial document is part of what they have to submit, right?
They have to submit that.
They have to, okay, which
Well,
then
it-
triggers
but
the
it-
ZBA.
But it depends. You don't need a denial to request a special exception. You don't need a denial to appeal an administrative decision. If there's a special exception use in a zone, somebody just fills out the special
Right.
exception checklist
Yeah.
for said use in the zone, in which case they have no denial document. But if someone's requesting a variance, that means they first came in and they said, I'd like to build it here. No, you can't because this section says, these are your rules, you're proposing it over here. I want a variance, or I'm requesting a variance.
It gets, yeah, it's not really clear, because say they want a special exception for the use of one of the rooms of their house as a short-term rental, for instance.
Bad example.
There's no building permit that goes with that.
Correct.
Well,
Well, it could be.
so there's nothing to deny except for you can't do that use without going through this
Site
special
plan.
exception process.
So they have to go for a site plan.
But that's not a special exception, that would be a
No,
variance.
I'm just trying to use
I
it
know.
as an example of what you wouldn't put a building permit or an application forward in order to have a denial.
A special exception.
And that's probably an exception.
Yeah,
mean,
the
that's not-
special exception says you can do this if you meet these requirements.
Yeah, but if they
So
apply
you
to
come-
do it,
Wait. So if you do, coming in for your special exception is step one, you haven't been denied, you're just following the process.
True.
If you want to do a variance, it's like not allowed. So someone has probably given you that denial, and that's where
Well,
that comes in.
And you've all seen it, there's a very prescriptive form for a denial that leads to a variance application. With the Romney one, bad example because of how it went, they came in and they said, we want to put this deck over here. And that was denied because this determination was made at the administrative level that a special exception was required. In that case, the denial form doesn't really make sense, but the regulations were fairly clear as it was read that a special exception is required to put this deck in. But in either case, there's not a denial.
so I mean, I always think of the denial form more as a form that shows what process they have to do, rather
Correct.
than they've applied for something and they've been denied.
Correct. Some people come in and propose something, it's determined they need a special exception, then they go down that path. There's not necessarily a denial form or a denial letter. It's like, oh, I need a special exception first, I'll go down that path. But with a variance, it's very specific. You're proposing 5 feet where the regulations say 10 feet, you were denied because section says 10 feet, not 5 feet, and then they have to provide the 5 reasons.
Well, I think we all need to get a copy of an application, a copy of the checklist, a copy of the flow chart. We need those documents.
I am
And
perfectly,
learn what they are for and what they say as to where we want to go with this. Because if the other paperwork helps cover this, maybe there's some things we don't need to do here because it's going to be in the checklist.
and it
Well,
might be.
the applications are right in the book, though.
I don't know if
Application.
Those are the newest ones.
Oh, they're what?
Do we know if those are the newest ones?
I know.
It was the revised book the last one we got, not the
For
one that came.
practical purposes, my suggestion would be that the minimum application requirements
I'm working off of
simply
one
say
that's
something
20 years old.
as prescribed on the latest adopted application form. And then the board just needs to focus on the application form. And
Right.
you don't have to
We
amend the
don't wanna
rules
have to
every
do it
time you change the
twice.
form. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So-
true, but we don't have that yet, so we
No,
have to
but I
do
can-
the first thing
I can bring it to
first.
the February meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
We should have the existing application form in front of us and say, these are the things that they're asking for. Do we want to add or take away anything that's on here? So I don't think we should address this
Okay.
tonight.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I
So
think we should
let's look at the application.
Needs more work.
Can I ask Tavis a quick question? Do you bring it February or January 26th, our next?
I just looked, I wrote 126 in the minutes.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you.
So there are definitely things
I mean, and there are a
that-
lot of things in the checklist that,
that
from a
don't need to be
practitioner
there.
standpoint, make absolutely no sense to bring in. So I don't think, but I'm positive, because this is Wolfeboro, there are certain things that are put in because it became a stumbling block at a hearing at some point. So from then on, apples consumed on Wednesdays in October became an application requirement.
So if we're going to come back and look at this, did we have any consensus on whether a D existed? I had
There
like
was,
half
there
a
was
note.
discussion
Yeah.
of a D, yes.
We have that right now on a form that says, I remember even David Senecal agreed that we needed to add scaled drawing. We weren't even asking for scaled drawing before.
Well, I mean, even the name of the street, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's missing on even just a hand sketch that could be put on there if people pay attention to what they're doing, instead of being very,
What was your specific thing for D?
it said waiver, because whether we wanted to waive any of those things.
So my thought is that applications, however it gets renumbered, A, it's going to be for a variance, as per board-approved form. Special exception, as per board-approved form, and C, administrative appeal, as per board-approved form. Roman B, waiver provisions. The board hereby reserves the right to waive, the above. And that way, it's simply saying, we told you to turn in everything on the form, here's a waiver, and we can come up with a draft waiver form to people to use.
I'm not
I don't want to get
accustomed to waivers.
I don't want to get into whether their application is complete or not, and the waiver part kind of is a half a step in that direction. I don't want to take that step.
Yeah,
I
because
agree.
it's always the board's job to determine, do we have enough?
Right.
Yeah.
Individually, do we
important.
have enough information to rule on this? And if not, you ask for it. It's that simple.
Yeah. And
So where
their
we-
pain is they have to come back another month.
So when we put applications, instead of minimum requirements, we put application information required. Would that help?
Application,
Information required?
I don't know. I think we have to wait
All right.
and talk about the existing application.
Okay.
So number 2 is, public hearings shall be scheduled, advertised, or held, shall not be until the minimum application requirements above have been submitted. So that goes away, because we don't know until we look
No,
at them
but-
at the hearing.
It did at the last meeting on this. You said public hearings, you
okay.
collectively said
Public
public hearings shall be scheduled, advertised, or held in accordance with the adopted meeting schedule.
Public hearing.
did, okay.
Public hearing may not be held instead of shall not, because we have that option of holding the public hearing.
The public hearing
No,
shall
it
be
was-
scheduled.
It was pretty clear from council that if somebody turns in a form, whether it's half filled out or not, you schedule the hearing.
Right.
So the group decided, it reads, public hearings shall be scheduled, advertised, or held in accordance with the adopted meeting schedule as amendable, adopted by the board.
Public hearings may not be scheduled, advertised, or held until such time as the minimum application requirements above have been submitted.
But
What's
that's
wrong
been-
with that?
That's
We
thrown
can't do
out.
that.
Town attorney said no.
Why?
Because we can't
Because-
decide whether the application has been submitted until we meet, because he can't do it. It's only us that can do it. So
And
we
you
have to
may
schedule a meeting
not
to
know
look
based
at it.
on the paper either. They may turn in a whole plan set that becomes part of the packet, and then when they stand up in the public hearing and add to it, everyone says, oh, now I have enough information.
I think that it's,
Well, then how do
we
we-
have to schedule a public hearing if somebody turns in any kind of application. We're
But how
required
do
to.
we make it clear to the town planner that he needs to do what he has to do to get the information that's
That's
complete?
not our job, that's his boss's job.
It's our charge through this. That's the only way we're going to be able to do it.
We can't do that. We can't hold him responsible for their information in any way at all.
I'm not holding him responsible, but that he has to try to do it. He has to,
So an effective town planner is basically, should be a coach to a citizen, in a
Right.
sense.
Yes.
He should be able to say, this is, we can go with this, however.
They're gonna kick it
Based on my
back.
experience,
You're
they're
gonna-
going to say,
This
this
is
is
all-
not.
Come back
gonna-
with X, Y, and
This
Z.
isn't going to work. So to
Yeah.
save you the time and trouble, these are the things that you should do before you go forward. But we cannot
It's all
say no
really
to
clear
him.
on the flow chart. If they follow it, it says, have you got this? Then you go to point B. If you have that, you keep going. If you don't, you go back and do point A again.
Yeah.
But they don't have to.
Correct.
They don't have to. They can come in,
No, I agree they don't have to.
They just have to sign the application.
They can come in with nothing, you
Yeah.
know. But what I'm saying is, the applications, the checklists, the flow chart, all those things have to have enough in it to be, for him to be able to say, I'm going to interpret this in the strictest, which the ordinance says, he has to interpret in the strictest manner. He can't just do it loosey-goosey, but we have to give him enough tools to be able to do that.
Right, but then getting back to what Sabette said, he's supposed to be the coach. He's got the flow chart, he's got all of the application stuff, but like Audrey's saying, you can lead a horse to water, and if they don't want to drink, then they bring it to us, and if we decide
You
we
continue,
don't
to-
have enough to go
But
anywhere.
we get to do the flow chart, we get to do the checklist, we get to do the application. Those are things that we get to make phase 2 and part and parcel of this.
but they still don't have to complete them.
I know they don't have to,
Yeah.
but right
saying-
now the tools aren't there.
But I think some of them are. I mean, are you saying you'd like to step back and look at the flow chart again and say, and this list that we've just been talking about, this is the list that Audrey's saying, these are our minimum requirements of what somebody should come with. I mean, a successful application has these components.
And if they
Or more,
follow
or
the
less.
So are you,
Until we see what the application packet is, we don't know.
but you're
how
saying,
these
you're talking
things
about
are.
two different things, though. You're talking also, it's not just what we see, but what we tell them in advance they have to have. So are you saying that we're missing some information here that should be part of?
I can't tell you that without seeing the checklist, without seeing the flow chart, and without
Okay,
seeing the application.
So are you saying we need to work on that?
That's why I'm
That's what-
saying this should be tabled. And I understand completely, I can come in for a variance with nothing in my hand and just say, I'm here for a variance because,
Pretty sure you have to sign it. That might be the
I
only thing
sign
that's
it.
required.
I understand that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's happened this year where the ZBA has said, you got to give us more information about here, this, and this.
Right.
And I said, well, and they come back with the same amount of stuff without filling that.
We did it with Luke,
know.
said, didn't have enough to go for, and we're going to deny you unless you give us more information.
Yeah.
So,
and
So I think
that's
we
really,
all
I
agree
think,
here.
I think that's really where the board can stand up and say, look, we gave you an extra month, you brought nothing back.
Right.
Motion to deny the
And
application.
as applications come to you, you can say, they denied 2 of them, or they continued 2 of them already this year because they didn't have X, Y, or Z.
I think we basically all agree here that we're trying to give the applicant the guide, like you were saying, for the planner to say, the application,
Direction.
the flow chart, this, that, and if you do all of these steps, then you'll be ready, and it should be a smooth path. If the applicant chooses not to take the path, that's entirely up to them, but he shouldn't, or she should not be surprised when they come and we say, whoa, you're missing 3 out of 5 things here, and then we continue it or deny
we're
it.
either going to continue it or deny it.
My bigger concern is that the board is simply looking at a checklist and saying there's 5 things, they've turned in 3. The question is, do those 3 provide enough information for the board to act?
Yeah.
It's not, oh, you're missing A and P, so we're not
Well,
going
I
to hear
think
it.
it should be, are all 5 of them applicable to this particular incident? We have to look at each case as if it's totally separate.
Correct. That's why
So-
I think the next meeting going over the checklist is like, okay, is this
Yeah.
enough, generally or not?
Maybe it's not appropriate because the requirement number 5 has absolutely nothing to do with the boundary line adjustment, or whatever.
So the choices, as I understand it, is to list some expectations under applications, or to say, look at the application, because that's our expectation.
Correct.
So we can do one or the other, but we haven't looked at the application, so we don't want to go there yet.
Not yet,
Without
right.
looking at the application.
Right.
But Tavis is all ready to lead us down that path on the 26th.
Well, let's look at the application.
Well, no, I just don't think you can finish the thought you're currently struggling with until you have the applications in front of you.
Right, and I agree, and if you give them to us.
Look at what we have.
You have always wanted to include the applications in here. And if
That's
we
going to all
say
be part of this
that would be
packet.
there, so it wouldn't be written here. It would
It's
be
going to
in-
be part of that packet so that,
I mean, actually in
we-
the rules of procedure.
It could be attachment A, B, and
Yeah.
C, whatever.
so that we get to update that as necessary, as we feel that the system isn't working, the tools aren't there, we get to update the application.
We could also update this, but you're saying that it's simpler to update the
If
application.
it's a, what do you call it, a addendum to the rules of procedure, or I don't know just
Technically,
exactly.
there's nothing to stop us from updating the rules of procedure in the middle of the year, as long as we notice it
Correct.
appropriately if we find out it's not working.
I'm just trying to make sure the applicant has the tools, we have the tools, and that Tavis knows what we're expecting.
All right, so it being 2 minutes of 8, let's wrap this up for tonight, and I think this has been really great. And thank you to everybody who came, and we do another 4 to 6 of these, we'll have this done.
Was that a motion to
I
adjourn?
move to adjourn.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's been almost a year to the date from the date on some of my notes here, but I have to say.